Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Tuesday, the 10th of December. Using the Gospel of Luke as an Advent calendar of sorts, today being the 10th day of Advent, we read the 10th chapter of Luke. And in it we have Jesus sending out 72 people. Like he did the apostles in the previous chapter, he sends out 72 to prepare the way for the kingdom. And in verse 2, he told them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." And as I read that, I thought, if the harvest was ready and in Jesus' day, there's a harvest today as well, and it is even more plentiful. There's so many more people, and there's so much need of the gospel at the moment. One looks around the world and you see people and read the newspapers and see what you have on the internet. There's a great hunger among so many people. There's a sense of hopelessness amongst many people. There's people that are looking for purpose and meaning. There's all sorts of issues in the world. And we come and say, we have the gospel. So the harvest is plentiful. And what Jesus is saying, we must ask the Lord, pray to God. And it needs to be part of our prayer throughout Advent. God, prepare the way. God, we pray that you will gather in the harvest, send out workers, Lord, equip the people. And so it needs to be part of our constant prayers that God will send workers into the harvest field. But then Jesus continues, and in verse 3, he says to the people, "Go, I'm sending you out like lambs amongst wolves." And he sends the 72 out into the harvest to begin gathering it in. And it made me think that we've got to pray to God. We've got to ask God to do the work, because if he's not doing it, it's not going to work. It's going to be a disaster. So we've constantly got to be praying, God, you do the work. But then we've also got to be prepared ourselves to get involved and to get out into the harvest field and make a difference. And for each one of us, that'll be different. Some people might be called by God to go to the Middle East and go and preach in Syria, where there's possibly new opportunities opening. We don't know. Maybe you're called to go to China. Maybe you're called to just go to the book club. Maybe you're called just to get more involved in your church. There's all sorts of ways that God might use us in his work in the world. But we've always got to be praying that God will enable the work, that God will keep it going and do his purposes, work his purposes out in the world. And then we've got to be prepared for God to use us in the process as well. So be encouraged to pray and be challenged to witness. And in that way, God is glorified and we are blessed.